few markets have missed out on the national apartment boom in recent years, but for most of this cycle, the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area has been one of them. However, that may finally be changing. Welcome to Apartment Market Dynamics from NPF Research. I'm Jay Parsons with your Triad area update. Charlotte and Raleigh-Durham have been two of the hottest apartment markets over the last 5 years or so, but the next largest North Carolina market, the Triad, or the Greensboro, Winston-Salem High Point area, has been among the laggards in the country. Slower economic growth and less favorable demographic tailwinds have really clamped down here on growth. Now let's look at some of the numbers, starting with rent growth. And here's where we're starting to really see a notable change in performance in Q1. Same-store rents for new leases jumped 4.4% year over year. That's the Triad's best performance since the end of 2010, when we briefly saw some nice rent growth here before the market reverted back to its slow growth ways. And that 4.4% is still a hair below the U.S. average of 4.6, but it's the first time in 4 years the Triad has come within 100 basis points of that benchmark. Now looking at submarkets and product segments, we're seeing suddenly strong numbers all across the board. 6 of the 7 submarkets recorded year-over-year rent growth of 4 to 5%. And among the product age categories, solid numbers in all of the segments, but especially so in the 1980s niche. In that group, we saw rents jump 5.8% year over year. And let's look at occupancy rates. And this chart doesn't look quite as impressive as the rent growth chart, but the overall trend has been positive. The winter months typically bring weak demand, but we did see some decent numbers over the last 6 months. And in Q1 specifically, we did see a little bit more supply than demand, so occupancy ticked down 40 basis points. But year over year, occupancy jumped 60 basis points, 93.1%. Not a great rate, obviously, but we've now seen good year over year growth in 5 of the past 6 quarters. Now, a big challenge for the Triad area traditionally has been its proximity to Charlotte and to Raleigh-Durham, two larger markets that have gotten the lion's share of the young adults coming out of colleges. And so in turn, a lot of the corporate relocations and corporate expansions have really targeted those two markets, and we've seen much lesser growth in the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area. However, the job market finally seems to be heating up, particularly on the Greensboro High Point side of the Triad. In Q1, we saw the best growth that we've seen here in more than a decade in terms of jobs, and so that's definitely a good sign going forward. And assuming that job growth remains at least solid, we think the short-term outlook for the Greensboro, Winston-Salem area is pretty good. There is still some runway here for revenue growth. Obviously, occupancy could still improve, and we think rent growth could remain attractive at least for the next year or two until it starts to revert back to some slower numbers. However, if there's one thing to watch here, it's construction. Charlotte and Raleigh-Durham have been two of the hottest construction markets all across the country, and those the construction numbers are starting to all of a sudden shift upward in the Triad. And if that continues to a much larger level, and right now it's still manageable, only about 2,000 units under construction in the Triad, so still a manageable number, but if that number gets much higher, it certainly could become a problem for the market here, given that we just don't have the same demographic tailwinds that we see elsewhere in the state. And that's going to wrap us up for the Triad. So until next time, for Apartment Market Dynamics and NPF Research, I'm Jay Parsons. Thank you for watching.
Want more? Go deeper with NPF Research's apartment market reports. From a national level, down to individual metros, to specific neighborhoods, NPF Research has been providing unparalleled apartment market intelligence to the multifamily industry for almost 5 decades. Learn more by contacting us at 877-284-4938 or visit www.npfresearch.com and click on Market Reports.